Welcome to Tea Talks, where young adult stories and church experience comes together into a beautiful blend to inspire us. So grab your cup, sit down, relax, and enjoy while we spill the tea. With me today, I have my friend Daniel. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure to being here.
That is awesome. Daniel, we actually had a conversation before, so I got to know you a little better.
Yeah.
So today we're going to get right into it.
Go for it.
In this book called Growing Young,
where
they did a research to understand what the churches that are doing well, what are they doing? And one of the things that they mention is about practicing hospitality, how important it is to be best neighbors. So I'd like to ask you, what do you think? How important that is?
I think that is the number one important thing, and I'll explain why. When it comes down to hospitality, I see somebody new at church, or even new anywhere. Could be at work, could be at church, could be public, restaurant, wherever. When somebody approaches your activity, right, or is even near you, a lot of people think like, oh, you got to be a extrovert, right? There's this whole thing about introvert, extrovert, which in reality that never used. I don't know if have you heard that in the 90s or even early 2000s?
Not true. Not really.
Not really, right? Thank you. Okay, so that words never really existed during that time because it was like everybody would communicate with each other. So whenever I see somebody new coming into church, the first thing I do is introduce myself. I think that's very common sense. You go to them, you introduce yourself, you ask them about who they are, what do they do, where did they come from, just getting to know you. Let me get to know you, right? And so the moment you just know the basic things about the human being, all you got to do now is just invite them over for some food. Food fixes everything, more conversations, more stories. Everybody has a story, whether it's personal or whether it's where they got there or how they got there, they're always going to have something to talk about. So when it comes down to hospitality, just simply being there for them is already enough of hospitality. Acknowledging that they're there, right, is already hospitality. Obviously, everything else is the basics. You can take down somebody's number, text them saying, hey, man, let's go ahead and get some Chipotle, right? Or, hey, let's go for, some ice cream, right? Well, even though, it's not that healthy. But, it's hot, let's go grab a snack, something to snack on. And, of course, I always like to invite everybody to my house. I'm just a big-time people's person. So, my doors are always open. So whenever you want to come over and chill, the kids are there, wife is there, we can eat, I can cook you something up. Same thing at church. It's just similar. You just got to treat it like it's kind of your own house. And that's the way I look at hospitality.
Yeah. And I'm with you. I understand what the points that you made about being introvert or extrovert. But when we are church leaders and we understand the mission that God gave it to us, as church leaders, if we are introverted and if we don't like approaching people, we need to find people that are good at it, to be able to do it, because as people coming into the church, they need to have that. Do you have anything like an experience that you can share with us from churches that are doing that well, either your church or churches that you've been to?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say my church right now. I think we're doing a great job. Everything that I just explained to you, I've actually done so.
Yes.
I have a couple of friends. Well, they've been friends now, but I've put in a certain amount of good influence and hospitality on people to stick with us, right? Find out their interests. What do they like to do on their free time? The first question I always like to ask the people is say, hey, what do you like to do? What are your hobbies? What are your passions? And what are your interests? Most of the time people are like, hey, what do you do for work? Your work doesn't define what you are or what you do. You know what I mean? It has a contribution to you making a certain amount of money for you to provide and you to survive. But you always want to find, because you can't do nothing with them. depending on what their job is, they have to work. They have a job, you know, you have a role. So I think in our church, I always like, we like to ask, what do you like to do? What are your interests? What are your hobbies? And what are your passions? So for example, if you like to go get your nails done, hey, Chris, my wife loves getting her nails done. Let me go ahead and set you up with her because she goes alone sometimes. It would be nice to have a little girl talk, get your little pedicure and nails done, right? Who doesn't like something like that, right? So you find out what they like to do, right? For the guys, you like to watch football? Great. Sunday, come over to my house. We're going to have some food. We'll have some chips, some dips, and we'll watch the game. Who's your team? Who do you root for, right? So we do a great job by engaging in my church. I like to engage with a lot of young and older people. I don't care if you're 40, 50 years old. If you're going to act young like us, a lot of energy, great spirits, come over, right? Young people are attracted to doing high energy things, you know? And so the moment you engage in interest, that's what they love to do. Yes. Like one big thing, I like to work out, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna work out with I literally only work out with people from my church. It's just what it is. And we've actually gotten people closer by that. We've actually had people come up and ask, well, what church do you go to? What do you guys do? How did you guys meet? Because we're so diverse, right? So when you got a Mexican, a Dominican, a Peruvian, and an American all together working out, and an Asian, let's add an Asian in there, you know, it's like, well, how did you guys come together to work out? It's the first question. And then you always say, well, church. We met at church, you know? We had this one specific guy that he just moved to Rhode Island, but he came from Virginia, moved to Charlotte, and one of his hobbies was powerlifting. Now, I'm not a power lifter, but it's the same thing as working out. So why don't you lift with me and I power lift with you? We went to each other's gyms and we got to know each other. And now I keep in contact. He comes and visits Charlotte because he has a family in church now, right? Mm-hmm. So the number one thing is when you treat somebody like family, that's it. You're gonna keep them for life because they have somebody that they're counting on to be there with you.
And I love that you were looking at not only, okay, your passion is exercise, but that's not everybody's passion. Mm-hmm. But as you gave the example, like your wife, okay, if somebody likes to get their nails done. So having this missionary spirit in you, I think that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Because the point is, how do I find a way to bring this person close to God? It's not to me, it's to God. So I'm going to do what it takes to help this person get there.
Correct. My expectations and standards are that if I don't have the same interests or hobbies or things like that, I expect my family, church family, to guide them, like you just said. So somebody's going to be there to have them feel included, mm-hmm. right, in different activities, and then of course have them talk. So, like you said, I'm more into health and fitness. There's not everybody's about health and fitness. That's okay. We have people that are into a lot of different things. And that's the whole point of having a family. Got people from different countries, different backgrounds, different hobbies, different passions, different careers. You're going to fit in somewhere. God is going to place you somewhere in our church family where you're going to feel special no matter what. And that's the goal for our church.
The next question I have for you, you pretty much already kind of gave an answer.
Okay.
But it's like now you can dream bigger. Okay.
Okay.
How do you see your passion? Because from a previous conversation, you mentioned to me that your first passion is your family and your second is health.
Yes.
How do you see your second passion, health?
Yeah.
Being able to reach the community.
So, health is wealth. I'm sure you've heard that a lot of times.
Yes.
I have colleagues that I work with and they invest so much in vitamins, minerals, and supplements and foods and personal trainers, things like that. So I'll go back to what I mentioned in our previous discussion. You have to take a look at, we have only 120 years to live, right? That's what God gave us in the book of Genesis. And we had to make that worthwhile. And for me, I want to be able to see my children grow up. I want to be able to have them have children as I'm getting older, you know. And I was raised a vegetarian. My parents always raised me. I never had a steak in my life. Not that I'm discriminating. Never had a steak in my life. Never had certain meat. Never had shrimp, things like that. But there's a lot of food alternatives out there that are so easy to get. A lot of fast food and all this stuff, and unfortunately, it doesn't do as well in our health. You know, here in the United States, the number one cause of death is diabetes and obesity and heart disease. And so I don't ever want to see somebody struggle with that. So what can I do to help you to better your health, right? You're struggling in there with something. I don't know what it is, but everybody struggles with the health matter, you know? And so if there are and not only that, it's gonna make you feel better. It's gonna make you gain confidence. You're gonna have so much more energy. You're gonna get focused in the mind, in the body. You know, there's no better feeling than waking up, feeling good, feeling confident, and continuing to do the same for other people. Now, I'm not no personal trainer, but I can tell you what is best for you, what's best for you and your health, because it's very simple. You know, you look out there, we have foods that we know are good, we have foods that we know are bad. You know, it's just a matter of really staying consistent and disciplined.
Having the knowledge, understanding about it, it's a wonderful way to be able to connect with the community, especially, I'm telling you, I'm vegan.
Oh, you are?
But when I started, 20 years ago, my family thought I was completely insane.
Yeah.
You know, especially because I'm from Brazil.
That's probably why you look so young.
I don't know about that. But anyways, my father, he actually got very upset thinking that I was going to hurt my kids from not giving them meat. So back then, when you talked about veganism or anything like that, they thought you were crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But today, pretty much everywhere, people are going out and they are looking for alternative ways of eating, because they have seen how much certain ways of eating will hurt them so much. So it is a wonderful way to be able to reach the community. And I love to see young people that have this missionary spirit. So this was really wonderful getting to know you a little better and hearing about your family and your passions, and even more knowing that you are at a church that is helping you, supporting you through your passions. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you again. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
And thank you for joining Tea Talks. Keep the conversation going. Keep stirring up the conversations and embracing the beautiful and messiness of life. And until next time.